So what can I really say about a chicken stock? Um, well, I sure as hell found out what type of chicken stock I wanted to make on Christmas Eve while I was about three Manhattans deep. So I'm definitely going to leave the recipe for that cocktail as well in this video. But, you do get to discover some interesting things when you're, you know, just taking medical edibles all night and boozing. So, join me. It's an extremely approachable task to engage in to make chicken stock or any sort of stock really, and it makes your entire house smell very good. It's low maintenance and ultimately it's fun to do, and you're able to consistently put your own fingerprint onto the stock, and there's no hard and fast recipe to this. You could use less water, you could use more water to dilute the solution. You could put just the carcass with the back intact into the stock, or like we're going to do, put the chicken pieces in. So really this recipe developed over the course of about a month in the lead up to the holidays, and I just like to share it with you guys. So, but this isn't a hard and fast type thing. Like, I'm going to give a recipe, I'm going to give quantities and measurements and all that. I mean, the point is that this is going to just be exceed in quality anything you're going to buy in the store, and you're going to learn how to make this. And it's a fundamental component to anybody's culinary repertoire, or I suppose it should be. Well, we're going to break down a whole chicken here, so I made sure to sharpen my knife.
Okay, that's good one.
So take the chicken and put it breast side up, put some incisions between the thigh and the main part of the body, and then you're going to pop out the ball joints of the hip. Then just follow your knife as close as you can to the carcass, making sure to preserve what is referred to as the chicken oyster. Although truthfully, it's not that important because we are putting this entire thing in the stock, and then we are using it for a soup and a pot pie and maybe some noodles. The wing, what I do is I just get all the weight underneath the wing and hold it up, and then again just try to find where the shoulder of the wing is and carefully work through the cartilage that's attached to the body, and then I just basically rip it out. If you're presenting this at a dinner party, okay, you could be more judicious about your butchering, but that's not what I'm doing. Throwing in a pot. I take off all the skin now, and then what I do is I put it in the center of the carcass while it boils in the stock. Okay, so make an incision as close as you can to the sternum of the chicken, and as long as you have a sharp knife, you should be able to get your fingers in there and just tear the breast away from the center of the carcass. You could just do this with a knife and work it off. Maybe I should have done one on each side, but I didn't. There's a kind of like a film, if you could see where the tip of my blade is, that you have to work the knife around, because that is, I'm not sure if it's inedible, and anatomically speaking, I don't even know if a sternum is the right word that I used before for the center of the chicken breast. But yeah, just trim off what you can. There's always going to be a little residual meat on this. I mean, you could try your best to get it all off or pick it off, but at a certain point you have to move on, right? So there we go. We have the carcass, and this is all going to just kind of, cook down and melt into the stock anyway. Yeah, obviously if you buy a full chicken, you're going to get the little parts in there, like the liver and the heart and the neck. I just just take the neck and put in the stock. I don't put the organs in the stock. I don't. I guess you could. I don't know why you couldn't. I'm sure that the color would change dramatically based on the color of the dark red color of the heart and the liver. So now I'm just removing the skin from the legs as I did from the breast, so that when I take the meat out, when it's reached a safe internal temperature in the stock, I can then de-meat it. I can take the meat off, shred it off, and then return the bones as quickly as I can to the stock so that you get all of the flavor from those bones. Well, now we have made it to the vegetables and the aromatics, and here's my assembly of aromatics and vegetables. It's not hard and fast. You could do as much as you'd like of each type. So obviously you can't use just as much of anything as you like. Well, whatever. It's going to create some sort of liquid. But let's say you want to increase the sweetness. So maybe you put more carrots in than that. I have 5 carrots in there. That's a lot because I love carrots. Let's say you want a really garlicky stock. I don't know. Put a whole entire head of garlic in. Who knows? You could change up what type of onions you use. Here, obviously, I used an onion and a shallot. I used rubbed dry sage rather than fresh sage because I didn't have it. And you're just gonna rough chop everything because it's gonna cook down for so long. It's not really that pivotal to chop them really small. You don't want them because then they would just kind of disintegrate. Bay leaf. This is really fresh bay leaf. I don't know what they're doing at the local supermarket. They've introduced their own brand of herbs and stuff. Leekies. You got to use the leekies, but just make sure you clean the bottoms extremely well. The dirt and the grit gets up in there very significantly. Clean those well. Use the tops. When I started using the tops, I felt like it kind of changed the stock pretty dramatically. So if you could taste the difference between 12 sprigs of parsley and 11, then you deserve a incredibly thorough pat on the back, but play with this. I put them in at the bottom as kind of it's not really a bed because it's all gonna change once the water goes in. But I did use a technique I saw Alton Brown use about like 20 years ago on Good Eats here, which was to put a steamer basket on top to keep everything down. This made skimming the scum easier, but honestly, I would not do that again. It's just it wasn't worth it. And then lastly, just pour over some filtered water, about 6 quarts, and bring it to a boil. So I always have a bleach bucket for disinfecting surfaces, and I advise you to do the same if you cook a lot because this is way easier than using like Lysol or Clorox spray or something like that. And in the meantime, while my stock was cooking, I organized all this. So there it goes. Look, it's a little murky and disgusting looking, but that's going to clarify and become less opaque very soon. And here is the first scum skim out of like 2. I mean, chicken just doesn't, in my experience, it doesn't generate that much scum. So you just got to get a nice fine mesh strainer and get that stuff out of there. Once it's at the boil, you can reduce it to a simmer and cook your chicken. And, it's going to poach in the water. Once it's over 165, you can pull it out, put it on a sheet pan. And then what I did is I just really tried my best to shred it as fast as possible because I want to get those bones back in the stock. Get all that meat off. It's not 10 minutes isn't going to make the biggest difference in the world. Get it all off. You don't need to shred the breasts. And I went up cooking this for about 2.5 hours, which reduced pretty significantly, and you'll see how much I'm left with at the very end. This is so wildly fragrant, so low maintenance, and when I strain it, I take a really loose strainer, and then I dump all the stock in, and then I get a fine mesh strainer and ladle the stock on top. I used cheesecloth this time just to see what type of clarity could be achieved and what type of residual sediment remained when it was all poured through the sieve. And here I'm just pushing it through and helping the process get along. And watch, you take off this first layer, and that's it. Look, there's nothing made it through even that first layer, and you have it, a beautiful chicken stock. It doesn't, thank God, it doesn't look like College Inn where it's like that's like clear. I don't know how they do that. And I don't care because that's not what I'm going for. And we got to cook this stock and more stuff at home, guys. We can't just be ordering Blue Apron and Fresh Direct or whatever this shit is called anymore. It's so boring. But really, thank you for watching. Join me again. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff, I hope more conscientiously than in the past where I got distracted, but I can't make any promises because I am a distracted person. Bye-bye.